What's going on, guys? Ultra Stasio here with FlytPath.com. Now in this video I have the new Hohem iSteady Pro 2. Now this is the 3-axis gimbal for your action cameras, and capability wise it actually you can use it on a lot of action cameras, including the GoPro, the Osmo Action, as well as some of the Sony ones and the Yi 4K cameras. You can use it with a bunch of different ones, but at first I wasn't sure if I even wanted to review it, mainly because the GoPro and the Osmo Action have such amazing stabilization out of the box. I was like, oh, maybe I'm probably not going to even use a gimbal, but at the same time there's definitely some limitations when using the Osmo Action in 4K because it'll then punch in when you're using Rocksteady. So now if you're able to turn that off and use something like a gimbal, you're not able to get that full screen without that punch in. And also at $99, this thing has a ton of features like being splash proof, having inception mode, also having the ability to see the back screen, sport mode on this thing, and you can even charge your action camera as well as charge your phone while you're using it. So for 99 bucks, I definitely at least wanted to give it a try to see if it might be worth it. So in this video, I'll talk to you a little bit more about the iSteady Pro 2. And before we get into the review, let's open this up and see exactly what comes inside this box. So here's what comes inside the case. We have a nice case itself, which is zippered on the outside. Of course, we have the instruction manual here. And the first set of cables we have here is USB to micro USB. And over here we have two other cables. One is USB-C as well as a micro USB. These are actually going to charge your action cameras while you're using it. Here's a little mini tripod, which is really cool. So it just kind of stands it up right here. Has a 1/4-20 with some rubber at the bottom. And of course, that's going to be to keep this on the bottom of the gimbal, so you're able to then stand it up while you're using it, which is really nice. I really wish just more companies would always include a tripod whenever they sell something like a handheld gimbal. And taking a look at the controls up top, you have the joystick, which allows you to move your gimbal in all directions. You actually have a roll switch right here, which allows you to also roll forward or roll back. It'll then tilt the gimbal. You have a mode switch right here, which allows you to switch to 4 different modes, and when you do that, there's a little light right here that shows you which mode you're in. There's also a little Bluetooth light indicator here is when you want to hook it up to your mobile device. And of course we have the power button and record. Now we'll quickly go through the 4 modes. By default, mode 1 is what it starts out in when you power it up. This is the pan follow mode. Now this mode actually locks the tilt and roll axis, but allows you to go smoothly from left to right. So this one is by default, and then when you power it up, this is the way it's going to come in. And if you want to get to this mode, you just have to click the mode button once. And the next mode we have here is the pan and tilt follow. This is mode 2. Actually, this is the one I probably would want it to default on. So I'm not sure if there's a way for us to switch the default. I don't believe there is. I have to go through the application itself and check, but this is actually the one that has the roll axis, which is locked, but the camera is able to move left and right and tilt up and down. And the next mode we have is all locked, or mode 3. You just have to hit the mode button 3 times. And this is actually really good if you want to keep something centered in your frame, because of the fact it locks it on. Even if you move your gimbal left to right, it keeps that image right in the middle of the screen. And last one is mode 4, which is all follow plus inception. Now all follow is really kind of like an FPV mode. This is the one that doesn't necessarily keep your horizon straight, but it does keep everything nice and smooth when you are moving that gimbal around. And then inception mode. This was something I talked about earlier, where it's nice to see that something at this price range can add a feature in like this, which is normally reserved for higher end gimbals. On the side of the gimbal, this is what's really nice. They actually include a 1/4-20 mount, which allows you to then hook up different things like brackets if you want to hook up a light, your mobile device here on the side. And the good thing is, on the side here, we have a USB full size as well as a micro USB. The micro USB is going to be used for doing any software updates, and then the full-size USB is going to be used if you want to charge your mobile device or charge your light or charge a microphone while you're using it. So you can actually tap into the battery in here to then charge your devices while in use. And here on the front we have the trigger, which allows you to do a couple functions. If you just double tap it, it'll then recenter the gimbal. If not, you can just hold it down and it'll then turn into sport mode, which allows you to use the gimbal a lot quicker. So if you are recording something like action sports and you wanted to follow somebody a lot faster, you don't have that slower pan. If you want to go a little bit faster pan, you just hold this down and it turns into sport mode, where it does still keep everything stable, but it does turn a little bit quicker. Coming around to the side of the gimbal, we have 4 lights here. This will be your battery indicator. And at top here, we have the universal bracket, which allows you to then hook up multiple styles of cameras, such as even the older GoPros, or if you have something like the Sony or the Yi cameras, you're also able to plug those in here. I had some of the older style gimbals, and they're only really made to hold one type of camera, not really universal. So the ones that they have here, it's a lot more universal to use on all types of cameras. And one of the cool features I saw that they included is a power source here. So you're able to now power up your action camera while it's in use. So you're not only able to power up your device, so if you were to hook up your phone here or some sort of light or mic, you could power it through this USB, but you can now also power up your action camera through this USB port right here. And that's why they include a couple different cables for you to use. So pretty much you can have a long full day of shooting and not have to worry about just the battery that's inside of your action camera, because you can actually charge while it's in use, which is really nice.
Now, of course, using a gimbal is all about stabilizing the footage. So here I'm actually using the Osmo Action, but I turned Rocksteady off. So very similar to how any other action camera that doesn't have digital stabilization built in. Here, Rocksteady is off on the top, handheld on the bottom. This is what it looks like if you were to put an action camera on here with the gimbal. Now, if you own the Osmo Action and you did turn Rocksteady on, as you can see here, compared to the right-hand screen, there's a significant amount of crop in order for it to be digitally stabilized properly. So that was one of the ones that I think a lot of people had the most question is if I wanted to use it without any crop, how would I be able to get stabilized footage? And that's the reason why you would use something like this. You would use a gimbal to use that full screen with no crop. As you can see here, I'm just doing a basic handheld walking with Rocksteady on the left, as well as using the gimbal on the right with Rocksteady off. Here it is running. And I was actually really surprised on how well the Rocksteady worked when running. As you can see here, left-hand side versus the right, very, very similar, but there's some micro movements in there that I think the Rocksteady did actually clean up. Now, one of the things that they're marketing is that it is splash and weatherproof. So if you're the type that's going to be outside a lot, or if you're going to be hiking and you don't know what the weather conditions are, or if you're just going to be shooting at the beach and have a lot of dirt and water get into your camera, you want to make sure that it does work. So I was able to stick the hose on it for about 2 to 3 minutes. And as you can see here, all the functions, all the modes work. The gimbal seems to work just fine. I wanted to test out all of those different movements, as well as let it dry out a little bit and see if it did affect the motor. I did this about 2 to 3 times. I ran a couple tests on it. As you can see, it started drying out a little bit, but the modes worked, everything and all the functions worked just fine. I'm going to be doing a little bit more tests to make sure to see how it does after some time, but as of right now, everything still worked. And they have an app that you use through Bluetooth for the iSteady Pro 2. You're able to then take control over the gimbal itself. You're able to change all of the modes, as well as use the virtual joystick here to change pitch, roll, and yaw of the gimbal itself. And also you're able to do things like motion and time lapse. For some reason I was just having some issues setting some waypoints on my motion lapse. I'm not sure if it was something I was doing. I still have to go through and test this out a little bit more. It might be an app version or just me not understanding exactly how to use it properly. But at least you're able to go in here and change a bunch of the settings and really fine tune the gimbal. One of the features I saw was missing is selfie mode. Now, of course, you can actually just use the joystick and spin it around, but I've seen so many other mobile gimbals and handheld gimbals just like this that allows you to then, hit the button multiple times as far as the mode goes for it to automatically turn around. I don't know why they didn't add it on here. Maybe they could do it in the future and add a mode 5, but for some reason there is no selfie mode. Now, who is this gimbal for? I think, you know, it could be pretty much for anyone that has an action camera in general, especially if you have an older one that doesn't have internal image stabilization like the GoPro 7, as well as the Osmo Action where they have Rocksteady and HyperSmooth. If you have one of the older ones, then you can definitely use something like this to level up your video, especially if you're trying to get something more smooth, a little bit more cinematic. And even if you have something like the new GoPro Hero 7 or the Osmo Action, and you just want to have that additional stabilization by having it on a gimbal, having it handheld, having that it's just a little bit more stabilized footage as far as using the 3-axis mechanical gimbal versus just the digital image stabilization of the internal of the camera. You know, it's just a leather little piece. And plus, I think all those little features that they added here, the charging of the camera itself, using an external port to charge your phone or light on the outside is just another bonus. And like I said, for 99 bucks, I think it might be a pretty good pickup if you're just trying to, you know, enhance or level up your video production just a little bit more. And there was a couple things earlier that I mentioned that I think they could have improved on just a little bit more, but I mean, for 99 bucks for all the features it has on it, if you're just looking at leveling up your production value, I think this might be a pretty good pickup. Of course, all the information about this product will be down in the video description below, so make sure you guys check those out. And as always, if you guys got some value from my video, don't forget to hit that like button, and also don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post new videos. This is Aljon Stasio with FlytPath.com. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.